What's up, everybody? FknBucky here. I spell it, you say it. It's been a little while since we've been on the podcast. Made it through the holidays. Want to welcome you back. I got Hayden here. Hayden, say hello.
Hey.
Perfect. Never talk again. Ladies and gentlemen, I have missed talking to you. There has been a ton of things going on in the world, and like always, I do have an opinion about it. And like always, my opinion means absolutely nothing, but it is mine. And I do hope it gives you a little something to talk about, something to think about. And I hope I intrigue you just enough to maybe pick up a book, pick up a magazine, pick up a newspaper, and educate yourself on all of the topics that are happening today. Those who do not know history are doomed to repeat it. And it gets over and over and over again, and it happens throughout time. And the simple meaning is if you don't learn the lessons from your failures, you don't learn your lessons from things that go wrong, over time, you will do the exact same thing, and you will fail the same way. You will not succeed in the same way. And I don't understand people that do that. I don't understand why it's so hard to learn lessons, why it's so hard to succeed. And I'm as guilty as everyone else in the world. I've done it many, many times before. And so when I say that the things that I talk about and the things that I bring up, when I say that I hope it intrigues you to educate yourself and it makes you want to know more, I truly mean it. I don't know everything. I can be wrong, as with everyone, but it's very rare that I'm wrong because I'm a freaking genius, okay? Let's just play it where it is. We've got football Sunday coming up. The Packers lost. That's my home squad. Go Pack, go, right, Hayden?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Perfect. But they lost, and it happens. So we go back to it. Hopefully next year a little bit better. I was disappointed to see that the Lions lost. I really thought it would have been cool for Detroit, been good for that city, and good for Lions fans to have that Super Bowl win.
The Vikings losing right away put a smile on my face.
Yeah, they suck.
Record.
So, Vikings. I knew they'd lose, and rightfully so. Minnesota's stupid little state. I mean, if they want to succeed and go to Canada, good riddance. See you later. We don't need you. I mean, they got a bunch of lakes. So if you're a fisherman, it might suck for you, but there's plenty of other places with lakes.
George Floyd.
So, remember when I said shut up? Yeah, I meant that. So, I was watching the Steelers versus the Ravens game, and I know this is a little bit behind because we haven't talked in a bit, but I was just really impressed with a couple of things, and watching all the playoff football and all of it. Some awesome lessons to come through, and you know. You see the coaches, the head coaches, man, and the amount of things that they have to put up with when it comes to stupid penalties, unfair penalties, a player that loses their mind and gets called for roughing the passer or unnecessary roughness when they tackle somebody outside of bounds and they're just in the moment or they're frustrated and they take it out. I mean, that crap happens. But you know, when you're a coach and you're trying to win a game and then you got somebody giving a free first down when you had them stopped, you know, it's got to be incredibly frustrating. And, you know, when I was watching the Steelers and the Ravens, I want to say there was a moment where they had a fumble. And one of the teams, you know, they were about to score, and then there was a fumble, and it was a stupid play. It shouldn't have happened, and you know. But I was watching the coach, and you know, the fans were beside themselves. Oh my God, it's over. Oh my God, we're screwed. Oh my God, you know, they just said they lose their minds, you know. But the coach was calm, and the coach was like, you could see in his face, he's like, this sucks. You know, I'm doing my best not to drop some F-bombs here. But, but he just went right back to his, his little clipboard there and started calling the plays and dealing with the situation that was on hand. He didn't have time to throw a tantrum. He didn't have time to cry like a little bitch. I mean, he had to just deal with it because it wasn't like the fumble was going to unhappen somehow and his team wasn't going to be put in that situation. They were in it. There was that. And you got to, sports, even if you don't follow sports or you don't care about football, but there's a reason why there's tons of sports analogies out there because it is a way of looking at life. And when life hands you something or something happens that's out of your control, how long are you going to throw a tantrum about it? How long are you going to sit there and cry and, oh, poor me, and somebody hit your car, or, whatever. How long? How much time are you going to spend being a little baby about it? Or are you just going to accept it and start figuring out the solutions? And so I was watching the game, and the coach he was a G, man. He just went with it. Said, okay, here we go. Let's go. Next play. Next man up. Somebody gets hurt. Next thing. 2 plays later, his defense, interception, pick 6, scored a touchdown. If he had thrown his hands up and said, I can't do it, I'm done, and just curled up in a little ball in the fetal position, one, loses all respect. So just think about that. Everything went to shit for a second. They look like they might lose the game. Everything's bad. And yet he stays calm in the storm. And that's the person that you need to be your leader. That's why the players follow him. That's why the organization believes that they've got the right guy in charge, because he didn't throw his hands up. He didn't cry. He didn't go into the fetal position, and he didn't start screaming at people next to him like, how could you let that happen? He didn't point fingers and blame others. There's a time to look at it later on, what happened, who missed a block, why weren't they protecting the ball? All of that stuff can be analyzed later on. But in the moment, when you're in the battle, when things are happening, you can't let your emotions overwhelm you to a point where you no longer are able to make decisions. And what that means is you can't let whatever is happening that's out of your control take away the one thing that you always can control. And that is your attitude. I say it a lot. I say it a lot in my blog. I say it a lot in my life. I say it a lot to people that I talk to. I say it a lot to young people that I speak to. You have to control your attitude at all times. It's the only thing that you always have control over. And, and I'm not going to pretend here for a second that I know what it's like to raise children from infant all the way up to be a grown person, human. But I've been around a lot of kids in my life. And I will say that you do them no favors when you don't allow them to have moments that suck. And you try to, I think people call them a helicopter parent, where you just hover over them all the time. Don't be bad to little Johnny. Don't do that. Don't do this. Oh, stay away from there. I hope, no, that could be bad. Don't do that. Man, kids need that growing up. They need to be able to learn how to think when things go crazy. And they need to be able to do that in their own little circle, their own little thing, when they're 4-year-olds and a toy breaks, or they don't get the play, or they don't, they're not picked in this group and they're in that group, and they've got to deal with it. And it's little things. But they got to learn how to deal with those little things. And then when it's time for the big game and they're 50 years old, they don't crumple like a wet paper towel when shit hits the fan. And I was just incredibly impressed when I saw the game and I watched the coach go through it all. And it was just, okay, let's deal with it. And, you know, I've dealt with a lot of adversity in my life. Many of you who know me personally know my own personal story. For those of you that don't, you're welcome to ask me in comments. Welcome to read my blogs. But all of these things, life happens, you know, just like in the game. Interception, okay, let's deal with it. You get dumped by someone you care about, okay, deal with it.
Get a lady pregnant.
Deal with it. Luckily for you, you're gay. So, you know, same as, you know, bedtime, right? For a little kid, deal with it. You know, you don't have to, it's what the rule is. The clock hit, zeros, game over, go to bed. You know, and being able to deal with these things and being able to learn that is going to allow you to be a stronger human. It's going to allow you to become a mentor to other people. You can't be a mentor to people if you've never been through anything. You can't mentor someone if you've never had to deal with adversity in your own life. What life lessons are you going to teach them if you've never learned any? I don't look at people that have failed in life as failures. I look at them as a treasure of information. These are people that have put themselves on the line over and over and learned the hard lessons. I can't tell you how many times I've failed at things, and it sucks. Nobody wants to fail all the time. But it happens, and it's going to keep happening over and over and over. And, you know, there's a thought that I've had that what if you could just get everything you always wanted? What if you just wished for everything to go your way? Think about that for a moment. Everything you do, everything you want, it always goes your way. Your team wins every week. Every argument goes your way. Every opportunity that you try succeeds. Nothing ever doesn't go your way. I would find it to be a very boring existence, to be honest. The reason we scream and we yell and we cheer and we get excited, we high five when our team wins is because it's the journey of getting there, man. It's the humility of defeat. It's the triumph of winning. When you fight so hard for something and you try so hard and you get beat down and you get beat down and you keep getting up and you keep getting up and you keep getting up. And then that day when it all comes together and you get to hold that trophy up in the air, you get that paycheck, you get that diploma, you get the job, you get the girl. All those moments of hurt, all those moments of inadequacy or just wondering if you're going to be good enough, if it's going to work, they all melt away because it finally does work. You fought for it. You earned it. You get to stand there with your chest up and you know you deserve this shit because you worked so hard for it. That's what makes it worthwhile. So if it was just given to you, no matter what, and you knew the outcome, you knew you were going to win. It didn't matter. There's no victory in that. There's no excitement in that. So, you know, sometimes losing is it's not as horrible as what everyone wants it to be. You know, there's people that think they just get to wake up one day and fly around on private jets and you know, they got the best of everything. You know, I want big bling necklace, like whatever favorite rapper is, or, I mean, it's just not, those things are trivial in life, and they're not going to give you anything. You got to earn it. You got to fucking work for it. There goes my F-bomb. I was trying really hard not to. But that's what I saw when I was watching that game. I know it kind of went on a little bit of a triumph there, but understand in life that hard moments are going to come. Regardless of who you are, what color you are, who you like to sleep with, what gender you are. And it's just going to be hard moments. How you deal with those hard moments is what's going to make you the person that you are. It's going to be the character that you build. It's going to be what people see. People don't look at you and see the problem that you have. They see how you deal with that problem. Remember that. When people look at you, they don't see the problems that you have. They see how you deal with those problems. And they respect people that deal with their problems in a positive way. You may be justified in crying like a little bitch every time something happens. Maybe with that it happens and poor me, you know. Maybe it is poor you. Maybe you did get hit by lightning. That sucks. People are going to remember how you dealt with it, how you came back from it. The smile on your face, regardless of all the crap storm in your future, in your present. And karma's a real thing, man. The more good you put out, the more the good comes back. And I know I've said this before, and I mean it, and it's one of my favorite quotes ever. And it comes from the good old Mike Tyson, Iron Mike. And he said, do things you hate like you love them. And I don't love waking up every day and dealing with adversity and you know, having to work at the same problems every day. But you have to. You just have to. And when you do and you learn how to do it well, call me, because I'd love the advice. Because it's hard. But life is hard. And it's harder when you're stupid. So read a frickin' book. And other than that, we got football Sunday coming up. Who do you think's going to win, Hayden? Washington Redskins versus Philadelphia Eagles. Who's your team?
First of all, sir, it's the Commanders. It's not the Redskins. Racist.
Oh, whatever.
You're trying not to swear, but you're fine being racist.
I'm not racist. Who's going to win the game? I didn't ask you to judge me. God will do that. If he thinks I'm a racist, he can send me to hell. Now shut up and tell me.
Question. You got to ask it right. All right. I think the Commanders are going to come up on top. Bold opinion, but
there you go. That's all. I don't care about the rest of it.
A lot going on in D.C. right now, I think.
What is who do you think's going to win the other game? Chiefs and Bills.
Bills.
Ooh, not picking the two-time champs, huh? Good for you. I hope the Bills win. I don't have anything against Kansas City, but I do think that Buffalo is a pretty cool city. The Bills Mafia. I think it'd be fun for them to go to the big dance and possibly win. Josh Allen is a beast. That guy, he's a never say quit dude. So I'm excited to watch the games. I think they're both going to be good. Saquon Barkley is a monster. If he has a big game, I think he takes the Eagles to the Super Bowl. If the Commanders can find a way to stop him, then they have a real chance at winning. That Jaden Daniels, for a rookie, man, that guy is just a phenomenal talent. Calm in the storm, He's beyond his age, man. Sitting there just against the who did they play? The Rams? Yeah. He did not he didn't blink, man. They'd go down and score, and then he'd sit on the sidelines, and the Rams would go down and score, and he'd just get up and he'd go out and he'd do his job again. Never got bigger than the moment. Never got bigger than the game either. I have a lot of respect for the young man, and I wish him a great career. I think Washington's got a bright future with him as quarterback, and with knowing the Packers got to go up against him for the next 15 years. It's going to be a tough thing, man.
Great future in Washington, D.C. Got the dog back in office.
You just can't wait to get there, can you? Did you think are you worried I'm going to skip it? Like I'm not going to talk about Trump? Like somehow I'm just going to forget all about it? Like you just want to like wave a flag over my face? Like, please God, talk about Trump. Hurry up. I can't wait.
Trump Daddy is back.
Nobody calls him Trump Daddy unless you're a complete freaking lover of penises, okay? And just because I ask you a question once in a while, it's not a complete opening for you to just keep talking. It means yes or no, answer the question, then shut the fuck up, okay?
No, you're trying to get me in a little bit.
I'm just trying to be nice to you, but it really irritates me when I do it and then you just barge right in. It's kind of like asking somebody if you think their girlfriend's hot and then you try to bang her. It's a little too far.
Right.
All
that's
right?
my worries with the whole
Shut
Elon
up.
Musk
Nobody
cares.
cares. Nobody cares. At all. So because I guess we're going to get right to it, skip football, let's talk about Trump because Hayden just can't hold himself together. Trump is back in office. Trump is now inauguration happened Monday. It's now Saturday. Not even a week. And he has been full blast. And it has been refreshing. And even the people that claim to hate him, they cannot deny how amazing this last week has been, how nice it is to have a person in charge again. I mean, you can love Biden all you want, and you can try and defend his legacy all you want. I don't know why anyone would, especially with his last minute pardon of all of his family members. I mean, to do it with the last 30 seconds of his presidency and to wait until Trump was actually speaking and accepting his inauguration to release it is pretty despicable. He also pardoned people for crimes that that we don't even know that they did yet. And I find it to be incredibly disgusting. The same people that are telling us that it's okay and that he's justified in doing so are the same exact people 4 years ago that were on TV nonstop screaming that if Trump would pardon himself in the future, that would be despicable and horrible and set up awful precedents, and it should not and could not be accepted and should not be tolerated. And yet here we are 4 years later, and the guy that they back is the one that did it. And it just makes me wonder what these people did. What did they do that they all need a pardon for? And if they get a pardon, why doesn't everybody else get a pardon? I want a pardon. Hayden should get a pardon. The things he does to farm animals, it ain't legal. We just don't know about it yet.
Bestiality. We've also been getting into nugget porn.
No one cares.
No arms, no legs.
So the fact that the past president decided that his family members should get pardons into the future for crimes that have not been discovered yet. Why is anyone okay with that? Oh, it's just old Joe. We'll just let it go. You know, when Trump leaves office in 4 years, which he will, if he pardons everyone in his family, these same people will have a meltdown. those cackling heads on The View, which that show should be canceled, is awful. Their heads would explode, which might be kind of fun to see. But I don't believe he needs to. This man has been investigated beyond anything anyone can ever imagine. And he's right. The millions of dollars that he spent on lawyers' fees for all these BS cases, all the stuff that they tried to do to him over the last 8 years, ever since he came down the escalator, it's just insanity. And yet now they called him Hitler during the election. And yet now they all sit around and can't wait to kiss the ring, if you will. And I find it pretty disgusting. But I said this before, and I'll say it again. And Trump should be looked at as a role model. And some of you heads will probably explode because of that. But the fact that he's willing to sit down with the same exact people that said these horrible things about him, horrible things about his family, and he's willing to sit down and break bread with them, if you will, and actually listen to them and then say kind things about them and say, we had a great meeting. We had a great talk. You know, we're looking at doing big things together. It's pretty impressive. Most of the people I know, including myself, probably wouldn't be so forgiving and wouldn't forget so easily. So I guess it's a lesson to all of us. And it certainly is a lesson that to have someone that's cool head, man. Cool heads prevail. And the guy's on top of his shit, man. He is getting it done. And even if you don't like it, for whatever reason, I don't always agree with everything he does, but I'm glad he's there. I'm glad it's not the other choice that we had, because it certainly nothing would be changed from what it was. I mean, you look at it now, ICE is going after and arresting these guys, these criminals, some murderers, rapists, people that are terrorizing communities. They're going and getting them, and they're gone. They're getting on a plane. See you later. And I don't know if you saw it, probably wasn't in the news and everywhere, but there was a Haitian guy that was convicted 17 felonies. He was a bad guy. Should not be in the community with the rest of us. And when they arrested him, they had the news cameras there, and he screamed, "Fuck Trump, Biden all the way." And then he said, "Thank you, President Obama, for everything you did for me." This is a convicted criminal that's terrorizing our streets. And he said he's not going back to Haiti. He doesn't want to go back. Well, too bad, buddy. You're out. We don't want you here. Our American citizens deserve to feel safe. And not just the super rich ones that live behind their gated communities and live behind their private security. They don't feel the wrath of all of these people that come in unvetted, unchecked, that come into your communities and terrorize and sell drugs and do things in your communities, run around assaulting women, killing our young people, starting turf wars. They don't have that crap in their little gated community. So they can stand up there and preach to the rest of us how we're supposed to be tolerant, how we're supposed to do this and do that. You know why? Because they own a dollar store, right? So they want more people to buy more stuff from their dollar store. But they don't give a shit about what you have to do. They don't care that money comes from drug dealers when they're spending it. So, you know what? I'm sorry. You're here illegally, you got to go. And when they talk about, separating families, well, that happens when you break the law. And if you don't want to separate the family can go with them. Nobody's saying they can't. You know, when they put American citizen in jail for breaking a crime. They separate that family. I don't see anybody up there crying about that, right? They try to put Trump into jail for whatever crime. I didn't see anybody crying about him separating their family from that. He seems to be a pretty good father and a pretty good grandfather to those kids. What if you'd put him in jail? He'd been separating his family. But I'm stoked he's in office. I think amazing things are going to happen. Honestly, this is what I envisioned when he was elected the first time. But like Trump, I underestimated the amount of, I hate the word resistance because it represents something that I don't believe it was. The amount of pushback from the establishment people in Washington, D.C. And the resistance is this left-wing fringe AOC folks, and they weren't the ones. I mean, they got a lot of publicity, but the truth is it was from the people that like having these factories overseas. They like things being manufactured in China. They like it being manufactured in Vietnam, Thailand. These are places that labor is pennies on the day. And so they can get their goods made. These are the owners of the companies, the corporate owners, the presidents, the CEOs, the CFOs, the people that live in these gated communities. They like having their stuff made there. You know why? Because it's cheap labor. And then they bring it in here. They don't have to pay any tariffs on it, and their profits skyrocket. But there's no American workers. No Americans have any jobs. But we can't sell our goods into those countries. And those are the people that fought Donald Trump so hard, certainly in his first term, because they didn't want it to change. We want this, we want that when they're talking to you and they're saying it to your face, but they really didn't want the real change that's coming now. They like this big, fat, bloated bureaucracy that moves at the speed of nothing, because nothing ever changes. They can get up there and say, oh, of course it's wrong. We can't have this. This is horrible. This is bad for the American citizen. And they can say it till they're blue in the face. But in fact, they know that nothing changes because it moves so slow. And that's been what they've done for decades now. But that party's changing, man. And so what ended up happening is Trump was in his first term, and they fought him, and they pushed back, and he wasn't prepared for it. And I don't think many of the people that backed him were prepared for it. The whole Russia thing and the impeachments, and I mean, dear God, it was all bullshit. But they were good enough. They would use the media, and they used everything that they had in their power, which is a lot. And they just roadblocked everything. And then he ended up losing, which felt like a punch in the gut to a lot of people. But I think it actually ended up being a benefit. And what happened is they put this puppet in that was barely alive. I mean, it's disgusting what they did with Biden. I think there's going to be a ton of books that come out. There's going to be a ton of people talking about how he was mentally gone, checked out. It sure as heck wasn't him making the decisions. And, the fact that Mike Johnson brought up the fact that he signed an executive order stopping the sale of natural gas to Europe. And he said, I didn't do that. He didn't even know. Who knows what he had to sign? But that's too deep. Most of you don't give a shit about that stuff, even though you should. My point is that we had 4 years of this guy that was dead at the switch, man. And who knows what was going on. And that's over. And now we got a guy that's in there, and he's getting things done. The round table, if you didn't watch the round table with him in California yesterday, I suggest that you watch it. It's 45 minutes, but it's great. He doesn't hold any punches. He says, look, all of this shouldn't have happened, but it did. And now we got to fix it. And it's refreshing to see. There was a point I was getting to, and I lost track. Oh, the fact that this is my point, and it's a good one. in my opinion. But the fact that he was there for the 4 years, they pushed back, they roadblocked him, they did everything they possibly could to stop him. They threw everything at him. It didn't matter whether it was truth, it was false, it was anything. And then he got voted out, which is still suspect. And then they stopped people from being able to talk about things on Twitter, blah, blah, blah. Elon Musk came in, bought Twitter, said enough of that, enough of this. Then they used this misinformation, disinformation bullshit to say that you can't say anything in a free society. You can say whatever you want. It's on people to figure out whether you're lying or not. And I'm not one to throw a bunch of information that's false out there. Once you're deemed a liar, you're a liar forever. So remember that when you're throwing your BS around. I mean, sooner or later you will get caught, in which they have all now been caught. The media got caught. They got caught on Russia. They got caught on January 6th. They got caught on the Ukraine phone call. All of it. It's all come out that it was all false, and it was all just a narrative to put up the roadblocks to keep the outsider out and keep the good old guys and the good old gang in. And what they did, is my opinion, is they opened up the eyes of a whole new generation. A whole generation of morons like freaking Hayden over here. Because of all the drama that went on, they've paid attention. And they've seen what the dirty tricks and the amount of effort and how far these people are willing to go to keep a hold of power. You can't call a man Hitler one moment and then 5 days later shake his hand and say, welcome to the White House. You just can't. Hitler was a horrible, 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 horrible person. Probably one of the worst in the history of the world. And the fact that people are just willing to throw that name around is disgusting, number one. But it isn't true, and it wasn't true, and they knew it wasn't true. But they did it because they wanted to hold on to power so badly that they were willing to do whatever it took, which meant lie to you over and over and over again. And now that Trump's in office and things are getting done, and things are going to get better, I'm going to leave it with the words that President Trump used himself. Success will bring us together. If his presidency is a failure and this country isn't rocking, then you can all get in the comment section and you can scream, I told you so. But I don't think that's going to happen. I think things are going to be awesome. And I'm excited for it. And there's a lot of other people that are excited for it. If you haven't been paying attention, I don't know what you've been doing. But we've got a lot of people, a lot of other countries. We've got a lot of other places that are investing billions, hundreds of billions of dollars. They just released a thing where $500 billion they're investing into AI here in the United States. That's a lot of jobs. And the fact that he said that we're done paying for everything in the world. Think about this. You as an American citizen have been paying taxes all this time, and we spend all that money going over to Ukraine. We spend it all over the world, sending it to Pakistan, all these places that don't like us. And now Trump has said, okay, enough is enough. These countries are going to start paying for our military to protect them, which we do. And then that money will go to making things better for American citizens. And why shouldn't it be? If we're the ones paying for all this and doing all this, other people should pay their fair share and stop sucking the middle class dry. Imagine if you didn't have to pay any taxes, because our armies are all over the world protecting everybody, and those places that are free to do business are able to continue doing business because of our armies. They pay. And we don't have to pay taxes anymore. Imagine that. That's real world shit, man. So it's exciting. I know it's a lot of information. It's probably a lot to get into. And, lastly, on the Trump thing, I am going to say I am in agreement. F FEMA, get rid of it, let it go. FEMA's been a disaster here in North Carolina. There's some places after Hurricane Helene, and they still haven't seen FEMA. How is that possible? It's been a waste of time. It's been a bad experiment. FEMA came about because of the complete disaster that happened after Hurricane Katrina in New Orleans. And it was bad that happened down there. They weren't prepared for it on a local level, on a state level, on a national level. But now we've got this incredibly bloated bureaucracy sitting around with all this stuff. Stop. And they don't know what to do with themselves. And so what do? They end up taking their budget. They spend it on all these illegal immigrants that aren't supposed to be here, that flooded in because of our open border crap policy. We spend your tax dollars, fund FEMA. The money that you make, you work, you trade your time for. Think about it. If you pay 33% in taxes, that's a third of the year. That's 4 months of the year you work for free. So from January 1 until the end of April, you're working for free for taxes. So not until May 1st do you actually make any money for yourself. That's crazy. And then you see how they spend that money. They ship it over to Ukraine to protect the border when we don't protect our own border. They use that money to spend it on all these people that aren't supposed to be here. And I get it. They got a tough time in their life, and they got a tough time where they're from. But guess what? We got people living in a pretty tough time here in America as well. And if we can take care of the homeland, we can make all of our citizens, where we don't have to pay so much in taxes and we can do so much. Americans are generous, man. We will take care of that other country later on down the road once we take care of home. But I'm missing my point here. When you pay those taxes and they give that money to FEMA, and then FEMA just wastes it and sticks it in God knows where, that should fire you up. And we don't need it. Get rid of FEMA. Have 1 or 2 people that are in charge of it. When a big-ass disaster happens, those people fly out and they say, who do we write checks to? Who's the local people that are going to take care of this? There's plenty of churches. There's plenty of volunteers. And, at the round table with Trump and the fires, there was some guy trying to defend FEMA saying, well, they got thousands of people here. And Trump said, there's thousands of people already here. California's got a population of 40 million. You can't find a couple thousand that are willing to help out? Sure, we're going to have a couple people from the federal government that come out and disperse the money and say, okay, here you go. But think about it. It's your taxes that are going to it. When you got a few thousand people from FEMA, well, now we got to get them out to LA. And where are they going to stay? Probably hotel rooms, expensive ones. Hotels that could be housing the people whose house burned down. But nope, we've got to fill them up with FEMA people who don't do shit. What are they doing? They're not picking up rubble. So you're paying these people. We don't need to. That's the point. We don't need to have them. Let it go. It sounds good in theory. Something bad happens. Woo, FEMA, helicopters in, everything's better. But it's not. They get in the way. They don't know the local community. They don't know the right people. They just flop money around and they get in the way and they make red tape and it takes longer and it's stupid. When bad shit happens in your area, you should have the mayor, the governor, the people that you elected for your area. They should be the ones that are in charge. And you know what? If they fail and they suck, then vote somebody else in. But there's no magic freaking group or person that's going to come and save everything for you. And it certainly isn't FEMA. They failed over and over and over again. They failed here in North Carolina. They're failing in California, and it's a waste of money. So you decide. If you think it's still a great thing and you don't mind pissing away your tax dollars, then there you go. Good for you. But if I'm going to work from free for January 1 to April, I want that money to at least go to something that's helping people, doing something good. That's what I got to say about that. I can't. I don't want to say I'm obsessed, but I'm very intrigued by the whole P. Diddy thing. I'm glad he's still in jail. I'm glad he's not getting out. He shouldn't get out. The more we learn, the guy is a monster. And they let him be a monster for a really long time. And everybody that was associated with the monster, they should be held accountable. And if they don't go to prison, they should live in shame for the rest of their stupid crap life. And, I've watched a lot of videos on it, and I know a lot of other people have too, because I see it at the bottom of the videos that they've got 9 million views or whatever it is. So I know I'm not alone watching them. But did you know that P. Diddy's baby's mama died of pneumonia at the age of 40? And she was in the process of writing a book that was a supposed tell-all book, right? Very suspicious, especially with the allegations that he has against him now. But it happens. It happens. But I was intrigued to find out that the other guy people talk about, who was Jay-Z, who claims to not know anything about anything, even though him and Sean Combs are very, very close. And there's been a lot of people that are in the same circle that say that Jay-Z, a.k.a. Sean Carter, is worse than Puff Daddy because he's smarter. And just because you're smart and you're rich doesn't mean you're not a monster. Remember that. Just because you're a senator doesn't mean you're not a piece of shit. There's a lot of people that are very good at hiding who they are. Truly. And the best ones hide it extremely well. But it was curious to find out that Jay-Z's baby's mama was also died at a very young age. And I thought about that for a minute, and I thought, I know thousands of people, hundreds of people that I'm close with, that I stay in touch with. I don't know any of them whose baby's mamas have passed away. Now you got two guys that are best friends, and both their baby's mamas passed away. Doesn't that seem like a red flag? If you had a group of 4 friends, and 2 of them, their baby's mama passed away, wouldn't you think that's kind of weird? It probably won't be looked into. People can call me a conspiracy theorist. People can make fun of me and say I got a little aluminum tinfoil hat on. But these are not good people. The allegations against P. Diddy are absolutely awful. Watching him hit that girl Cassie while he's running down the hotel hallway in a towel, that's not a man that does that. No man puts his hands on a woman, number one, ever. Ever. But willing to do that in a public space is pretty disgusting. And he's right where he deserves to be. And I think that someone somewhere should definitely look into the happenstance passing away of the people that were in a position to expose these guys at earlier time. Because monsters like that, they only get away with it by people being quiet or people forced into being quiet. And think about your group of friends. If one of them was doing shit like that, would you say something? What would you do? Would you act like nothing was happening? What if he was paying all your bills? What if he said, I'll give you 50 grand to act like I never hit my wife like that? What would you do? Would you take the money? Or would you kill the friendship and call the police? It's a good question. I don't know what I would do. It'd be very easy to say that I would call the police, of course. But would you? If you took the money and 3 months later she died of pneumonia, am I boring you?
No.
It was a big yawn. You guys can't see it, but I can. So I bring him up every time for the simple fact that I think it's very important that it stays in the forefront of our minds, because never again can we allow monsters like this that just because they have money and power to get away with what they're doing. There are thousands of lives that have been ruined by this asshole. Thousands. There's a lot of people out there that will not tell the story. There's a lot of people out there that were drugged, sexually assaulted, men, and men are, many of them will never ever tell what happened to them if they were in that position, because they simply don't want to deal with it, and it's much easier to act like it never happened and to move on. And the women that they have assaulted, the children that allegedly have been assaulted, those kids will never get that innocence back. You know, when you're 13, 14, you have no business being around a grown-ass man, certainly not a pedophile and a monster like he is. And the parents that allowed their kids to be in that situation, they should be criminally held liable as well. And like I said, the people that were around them that allowed it to happen, they should be shamed and they should be ostracized from society. No more red carpets, no more champagne parties for you. Get the fuck out. We don't want you. You're just as guilty as the monster doing the crap. You know, there's a law that if you are part of a crime and someone dies in the process of that crime. So if you're trying to rob someone and your buddy that you're doing the robbery with brings a gun and shoots somebody, you're just as liable for that murder as the guy that pulled the trigger. Well, if you're in the party and you're in the room and you know that someone like P. Diddy is putting drugs into drinks so that he can sexually assault people and you don't say anything, you're just as guilty. And you should be held accountable for it, whether it's in a real court of law or at least in the court of public opinion. And the fact that no more parties for you, no more career for you, no more movies, no more singing, no more anything. Just get out. And you can't tell me it's not happening because R. Kelly was doing the same shit. And you think nobody knew about R. Kelly? Lots of people come out afterwards and say, oh, I knew he was doing it. Well, why didn't you say something? Because you're a shitbag, that's why. Because you took the 50 grand. And you think it's okay. But you got to live with yourself afterwards. And that's the truth. And if you disagree with me, I'd love to hear why. But that's just the way that I feel about it, I guess. I wrote a blog recently, and I want to share the message here. Some of you may not have gone and read the blog. It is FknBucky.com, by the way. And it's about a story that I've read, a short story. And there's a book. It's called Zen Flesh, Zen Bones. I highly recommend you read it. And it's hard to describe what it's about, but it's a lot of ancient Chinese and I believe Japanese proverbs from monks and people many years ago, many centuries ago, have written. And but it talks about two monks that were walking down a road in the rain and a downpour. And they came across a woman that was looking to cross a muddy road, but did not want to get her silk kimono. Maybe I say that wrong. Maybe I don't know how to pronounce that word correctly, but anyways. She wanted to get it dirty. And of course, monks have sworn not to touch women and, or take a vow, I should say. And so, as they were walking up and they both noticed this woman needing to get across the road, but not wanting to get her nice outfit dirty, presented a dilemma. And one of the monks, without saying a word, walked over, picked her up, carried her across the muddy road, set her down for all sakes and purposes on this clean sidewalk on the other side. And the two monks continued on their walk in the rain. Hours later, when the monks were laying down and getting ready to go to sleep, the one monk said, finally, he couldn't take it anymore. He'd been thinking about it all day. And he said, "Sir, fellow monk," I don't know how they address each other. He said, "How could you pick that woman up knowing your vow? How could you do that? How could you pick her up knowing you vowed not to touch a woman? You broke your vow." And the other monk simply replied to him and said, "I set her down on the other side of that street, but it seems you've been carrying her all day." It's such a powerful message and it's so simple. The one monk said, "I simply saw a problem and I solved it and I moved on with my life. But you've been carrying this around with you all day. You can't let it go. And why?" We all do the same thing in our lives every single day. I bet if you thought about it right now, you could identify some bullshit that you're carrying around that you don't need to. You're letting it stress you out. You're letting it affect your emotions, your relationships. And for what? Set it down. Let go. What's the purpose of carrying it any further? You know what it is. You know exactly what I'm talking about. Let go. Doesn't it feel better? Leave her on the side of the road. Leave it on the side of the road. Solve this quick problem. And stop dragging it around. There's no point. Nothing's going to be solved. Nothing's going to be changed. It's not like the monk is going to go back and uncarry her. So what's the point of thinking about it? What's the point of trying to solve it? There's nothing to solve. And why we overthink things and why we insist on trying to continually battle something that's not worth it is beyond me. I do it all the time. It's not like I'm not guilty of it. That's why I read the book. I've read the book 5 times. I'll read it again. So I'm hoping one day the whole message will stick in there. But it takes effort to be better. You have to work at it. It's a daily thing. You can't be better today and then think it's over. Nope. Tomorrow's a new day and you got to start out. And the first thing you got to do is try to be better than you were the day before. And if you do that in your life, you're going to have a successful life. But if you think to yourself, oh, I was good yesterday, fuck it. Doesn't work like that. I wish it did, but it doesn't. And the first thing is just letting go. Let go of yesterday. Let go of whatever lessons that no, don't let go of the lesson. Let go of whatever it was, but learn the lesson. Learn the lesson, move on. And great leaders do that. Great people do that. I want to say President Trump is a great example of that. He learned the lessons of what he did wrong prior, and I do believe that he's doing one heck of a job starting out now. I'm wishing him the best. I hope he succeeds. And I hope he unifies the country. Success will bring us together. And I'm excited to see where everything goes. I've got so much more, but I really think that it's probably time I shut up and let you get back to whatever it is you're doing. But hopefully we'll make another podcast very soon. I appreciate all of you. I appreciate everyone that's listening. You guys are awesome. And I look forward to growing together, making this podcast amazing. And appreciate Hayden. Hard work he does on the side, putting all the editing, putting it all together. I make fun of him a lot because he deserves it. I'll never stop. But most and foremost, I wish you all happiness and success in your lives. It doesn't come easy. You got to work for it, but it is possible. I'm FknBucky. Thank you very much, and we're done.